I apologize if I sound a little bit raspy today. Allergies have been really getting on my nerves for the past few weeks, but I feel it's time now to really talk about this particular episode, and it's been really weighing on my mind on why it frustrates me to even watch this particular show. Shogun Great Revolution is one of those typical actiony mech shows that tend to pop up every season, as anime always usually does. The usual cop-outs of Gundams and whatnot. This show is no different, and it's greatly offended me as to how the show is executed. But I will dissect the show bit by bit, starting with the story. There is a main character called Ichiro, who has lived at the bathhouse for majority of his life, taken care of by his grandmother, or his adopted grandmother, and around the time he encounters, I can't remember her name. It's one of the guardians of the royal family that Ichiro is related to, and she gives him the mech suit called Susanoo, and it's his responsibility to defend the world from evil and do so by staying a virgin his entirety of his life, and so that he could pilot the great Susanoo. Already I have a couple of problems with the show. First off, the fact that it has a setting in Edo-ish time period, where it has giant mech suits that they supposedly say is powered by steam. This kind of logic is really over the top, and even for anime itself, that's probably not the actual power source that they have, but the opening theme that they have for the first episode makes it like that. As well as majority of the characters. There are some that I do kind of gravitate to. One of them is a half human, half beast or something like that has an emotional attachment onto Ichiro, and is also a virgin. She is portrayed as the demographic that is oppressed by man, and say that they are. It's essentially a racial remark, but her kind of character makes it a little bit bigger, but it's still not enough for me to really like him. But Ichiro, man, I don't know why I despise this character so much, especially in episode 5. It's just a blatant disregard for the build-up that they were having in the first place. In episode 5, they actually, I probably should backtrack a little bit. Apparently, Kiichiro has a curse where he cannot touch a woman or interact with a woman appropriately. I don't know where this originated, and it was one of the first episodes that really popped up a curse thing, and I didn't even know it was that. But it really bothered me that they were just suddenly shifting towards saying that it's a curse, and he can't do such and such until he kisses a virgin girl or something like that. It's just like, really? The matter is resolved, but in the midst of the episode, Kiichiro blatantly disregards one of the character's feelings, as opposed to trying to get a kiss from a virgin girl, which is totally inappropriate and very, very damaging to the character. He had no remorse for the character's feelings in the matter. He was just so concerned of removing the curse off of himself or whatever. Yes, he resolves this matter in the very end, but it's just, it really bothered me that they did this. Probably the plus signs to this show is the actual mechs that they have. They look pretty cool, and one of the features that Susanoo has for battle is that you have to have 2 pilots in to command it, and depending on the second person in the cockpit changes the appearance of Susanoo, which I think is really cool. However, one really big factor in the show that really drags it down is the sexual content in the show. Now, don't get me wrong. I appreciate the sexual content. I really do. And in fact, it's one of the elements of anime that kind of make it work, whether you have it or you don't. But my God, they have this sexual innuendo thing going on every single episode, and it's really bothersome. And it's even more bothersome for one particular function of it that I will get into eventually. And it's just every single scene with any of the feminine character, with nearly every feminine character, most of all the villains. Good Lord, are these women just, they act so like horny hounds. It's like, God, just take fights seriously and try not, and it just really distracts from the plot. And I want to take the character seriously, but I can't when everything that comes out of their mouths is sexual innuendos. Now, what really plays into this show that really is a clear insult to majority of anime that I have watched is the animation that goes into it. Now, the artwork in the show is done pretty well. I like some of the scenery, and the character designs aren't bad either. However, it becomes a huge problem when most of the animation that you have isn't really there. What I mean is, when you watch a show, you see characters move around and do gestures such as lifting your hand up, actually walking around. This is actually critical when you go into fast-paced action. This show has none of that. Every single edit in the show is just an actual picture of the characters doing the action. No fluent movements whatsoever. No real-time motion that you would see every day, and it just becomes a detriment. And it becomes even more so when you start to see that some sexual scenes or bits and pieces of animation that they actually do have follow through with some of it, but it's really rare. And you see most of it when you have characters actually moving around when they're doing the sexual scenes. And to me, that says it's sending a really bad message that their standards for animations are very low, especially when they're trying to impress audiences with the sexual scenes. I don't like that. I really don't, and I wouldn't mind it as much if they played it off as a theme they were going for, like telling the story picture by picture by picture, which is kind of a classical time-ish way of telling stories. But it doesn't do that, because you can clearly see some work in animating lip movements, opening mouths, open and close, like that, just showing that they're actually talking. But I just don't understand their methods of really conveying the message or conveying the story to the audience. I got really mad at this show, especially me trying to muscle through all the episodes that I'm trying to grasp the story. I mean, every single time I look at the show, I just get the feeling that I don't want to watch it. I really don't want to watch it, but I have to watch it to make sure that all the information I'm getting out is justified. So, my recommendation is do not watch Dice Shogun Great Revolution. It is not worth your time, and it will never be worth anybody's time. And I'm certainly hoping that a lot of people who have seen the first episode of the show knows what I'm talking about. So, that's all I've got right there. So, either take my word for it or not. It's up to you. This is David signing out.